Welcome to the show. It was the mountain that underwrote Spain's colonial empire. It even paid for its nearly invincible fleet of ships, the Spanish Armada, and even helped fund the European Renaissance. The Cerro Rico, or Rich Hill, produced an estimated 2 billion ounces of silver. The city beneath it is Potosi. It became the world's largest industrial complex in the 16th century. In 1987, UNESCO made it a World Heritage Site, but it has now placed it on the endangered list. The reason? Uncontrolled mining operations. Correspondent Dan Collins visited the Cerro Rico and the town of Potosi to investigate why this prominent peak puts so many in peril.
As imposing as it is historic, the Cerro Rico's almost perfectly conical shape is on Bolivia's banknotes and its national crest. Its vast riches passed through this Spanish mint, today a tourist attraction in Potosi, and made Spain one of the richest and most powerful nations in Europe at its time. The legacy it left Bolivia is far more contentious. Hundreds of thousands, some historians say millions, of men died mining here, earning it the name, the mountain that eats men. Scaling it, you can still see the mine faces, some hundreds of years old. At more than 4,800 meters, the air is pretty thin. I'm really starting to feel the climb to the summit. And nearly 5 centuries on, mining has taken its toll on the mountain too.
Yo me acuerdo hace 4 o 5 años eran así, las espesores son las espesores así, y está yendo abriéndose como grietas, ¿no? No solamente en este lugar, en todo alrededor del cerro, ¿no?
You have to go up the summit to see the impact. On something as solid as a mountain, it's quite a shock to see a hole in the top of it.
Está cayendo, me da miedo a mí. Yo sabía llegar, ahora me da pena. Si me da pena, no sé qué vamos a hacer. Es un monumento patrimonial y por eso tenemos que dejar de trabajar. Tenemos que irnos a otra parte, no buscar otro trabajo, o tal vez minería, pero otra parte, no al cerro. Al cerro queremos preservar.
It's a hole that engineers are desperately trying to plug. The Bolivian government has pumped $2.5 million into trying to save the collapsed cone. The crater opened up in 2011, and despite it being prohibited, miners continue to work above 4,400 meters near the summit. This old colonial mine is full of toxic gas, and you can smell it coming out of the mine face. The mining engineers before went inside, exploded dynamite as a way of trying to stop the hole in the top of the mountain from getting any bigger. The idea is also to stop miners from working inside and weakening the fragile peak further. Mining here is not just in the past, says the state mining company Comibol. It's a present threat to the mountain.
El problema, le digo que es social porque de pronto es dejarles sin fuente de trabajo, ¿no? Es paralizarles y botarles, entonces se quedan sin trabajo. Eso la política del gobierno no permite.
Around 15,000 miners working in cooperatives still tap into veins of tin, zinc and silver in the Cerro Rico. At dawn, they're eating a hearty meal ahead of a day underground. Kevin Takure tells me he's been doing this work for 4 years. He's just 17. Alvaro Laime is only 14.
Es duro, es muy difícil. Los riesgos principales son, casi la mayoría son uno que caiga al cuadro, los derrumbes y, por ejemplo, la dinamita.
Another youngster, Dario, is 15 and has been mining since he was 11 years old. He can earn as much as $300 a week, almost double Bolivia's monthly minimum wage, he tells me. The money may be good, but his small frame and persistent cough tell a different story. As swift as he is young, we soon lose sight of him underground. We've just come down 8 flights of these stairs and we're only at level 1. There's 16 more levels to go to get to where most of the miners are working, more than a kilometre beneath us. Deep inside one of the myriad tunnels, we find these miners taking a break. Chewing a wad of coca leaves, Jorge seems unconcerned that the mountain might collapse.
Aquí estás a tu suerte. Mueres, nadie no te da nada.
His father was killed in an accident in this very tunnel, he tells me. Apart from the air pumped in from outside and some power tools, working conditions have changed little since the colonial era.
Yo quisiera que el Estado vele, ¿no? Si digamos, no haga hacer proyectos grandes para que nosotros también podamos trabajar como se merece, con tecnología de punta. Estamos prestos para trabajar, pero si se olvidan todos y nosotros también a nuestro criterio, si se puede con diente o con piedra, nos sacamos el mineral.
He and thousands of other miners work in slavish and dangerous conditions, chipping away at veins of tin or silver using dynamite to blow it to pieces. Then pushing it out in these carts so the metal can be chemically extracted. It's amazing to think that there's thousands of tunnels like this in the Cerro Rico and maybe tens of thousands of miners still working these tunnels after hundreds of years. It may no longer be the Cerro Rico or rich hill of times past, but it's still giving up its minerals. So who benefits? Not the miners, says local leader Johnny Lally. The mining cooperatives are not as egalitarian as the name suggests, he says.
El cooperativismo no se practica. El cooperativismo es muy distinto, donde todos ganamos y todos por igual nos repartimos. Todo lo que es los bienes es de todos nosotros, todos le damos utilidad. No se practica aquí, simplemente beneficia al patrón. Cooperativismo no hay parte patronal y esclavitud. Esa gente que trabaja es peón. Peón es como el esclavo. No tiene seguro de salud en la caja, no tiene beneficios sociales.
A recent attempt to pass a law to reform the mining sector was repelled by miners with road blockades and massive protest. Thousands of cooperative miners across the country took to the streets. The tally was 4 dead, more than 100 wounded, and substantial economic damages. The government announced that the proposed law would be scrapped and renegotiated. Bolivia's powerful cooperative sector generates around 88% of mining employment. It also accounted for 48% of Bolivia's 3.7 billion mineral exports last year. It's proved a key ally for President Evo Morales in an election year. I asked the head of the Cooperatives Federation in Potosí what he was doing to improve the often deadly working conditions.
Desde la colonia, que tal vez se puede decir que algunas otras cooperativas seguimos trabajando artesanalmente. Como le indico, no hay, digamos, esa inyección económica, una ayuda para poder superarse, mecanizar nuestro trabajo.
Surely it's the cooperative's responsibility to keep its working conditions up to date, I said.
No es tanto, digamos, la utilidad de lo que concibe, ¿no?, el sector cooperativista. No es, digamos, tan como se maneja, digamos, que hay una ganancia, que existe en gran utilidad. O sea, la extracción mismo, la disposición en la parte de la extracción de mineral, o sea, es sumamente muy alto, digamos, a los insumos que se invierten en la minería.
In this mining town, there's few alternatives, and despite its mineral riches, Potosí is one of Bolivia's poorest regions. The mountain continues to make wives into widows, like Vilma Minacho, and turn children into orphans. Minacho's husband, Miguel Soto, died a decade ago, aged just 34. He was suffering from the miner's biggest killer, the incurable lung disease, silicosis. She and her 2 teenage sons share this one room. Crippled by debts for her husband's hospital treatment, she works as a miner's cook by day and a mine guard by night. But she told me what hurt most is that in losing a husband, she fears she may also lose her eldest son.
Impotencia y rabia. mucha rabia porque de esa manera es que hemos perdido a nuestros esposos y que vuelvan por motivo de trabajo, que no hay para nuestros hijos otra manera de trabajar.
It's a vicious circle, Paulina Garabito tells CCTV. She heads Musol, an organisation that works with miners' widows and their families.
La mayoría de los niños que trabajan en las minas, una de las causas principales es que son huérfanos de padre. Y otro es que son de familias de muy escasos recursos económicos, generalmente familias pobres, donde necesariamente tienen que salir a trabajar porque, bueno, es la madre nomás la que solventa, son mujeres abandonadas también, ¿no?
Up-to-date and firm statistics are hard to come by, but Garabito's organisation estimates there are 4 fatal mining accidents per month. At silicosis, the disease known here as mal de la mina, and she says every month there are, on average, 14 new widows in Potosí. Just glancing through the police statistics for mining accidents, for example here, 2010, 22 deaths, most of them caused by inhaling toxic gases, others by electrocution, and also severe traumas caused by mining explosions. The most shocking thing, though, is the age of the miners. Most of them are in their 20s and 30s, and some are as young as 17. To forge change, local women have begun to organise. Most of them are widows of miners. They say they're coming together to try to pull their families out of poverty and put their children in school.
Nosotros no hemos estudiado por falta de económico, tal vez por falta de concientización, ¿no? Antes no sabían muy bien como nosotros, nuestros papás, ahora se ha cambiado ya por necesidad, más que todo, la necesidad nos obliga para aprender, para estudiar, ¿no?
Today, children can get scholarships to keep them out of the mines and in the classroom, and microloans are available to women. Government officials concede, however, that there are more deep-seated issues that will take longer to resolve.
Es un tanto la inconsciencia social de los mismos padres de familia en algunos casos, y también es la cultura, donde de un proceso de aprendizaje pasa a una relación de, digamos, ya de explotación infantil, ¿no?
The Cerro Rico does not contain the riches it once did, but it continues to cast a spell over thousands of men. Some make fortunes, but for those who go underground, they're lucky if they live long enough to give their children a better future.
There are as many as 20,000 tunnels within the Cerro Rico, and although mining conditions are poor, the mountain employs up to 15,000 workers. Potosí is one of the highest elevated cities in the world at over 4,000 meters above sea level.
Coming up.
The former head of Pemex tells us how Mexican reform has the power to transform.
The scope of the reform is very ample and it cuts really deep. It eliminated the exclusivity of Pemex in the whole change of the hydrocarbon production.
America's Now.